All right. Ready to go?
I'm recording. You recording?
Yep.
All right, ready? 3, 2, and I'll do the thing again. Hey everyone, welcome back to another stimulus update. I am Logan.
I am Edin.
All right, Edin, we have released on Tuesday the biggest package yet. So this one is all in all $3 trillion. Well, I almost said billion. $3 trillion. While the first in this package was a little bit more than $2 trillion. So this is significantly higher. What are your initial thoughts? And we're going to run down what some of the big items here, but what are your initial thoughts on this as far as, is this even realistic, and what does this mean for the country moving forward?
Yes, I had to catch myself too when I saw trillion. I was like, is this meant to be billion? And I was like, billion doesn't seem right.
Right.
3 trillion, just astronomical relief package. House Democrats put this together on Tuesday. They plan to vote on it on Friday. And in terms of the substance of this proposal, it has a lot of the different proposals that we've covered so far bundled together into one big package. I think I read somewhere it's 1,800 pages long. So again, a massive bill. CARES Act was just over 850 pages. So this is twice as long. Again, about 50% more stimulus money inside the package. We'll talk about all the details, and then we'll talk a little bit about what the chances are of this passing, what it looks like time-wise.
Yeah, because this has a lot of implications for everybody. So Let's just do this almost like a speed round. We're going to go through item by item and just kind of talk a little bit about each thing and just, what this means for everybody. Because I think at the end of the day, a lot of people that, half the people, it seems like, are still waiting on their first round of stimulus checks, and the other half are trying to figure out if there's a second round. So it's all up in the air. So let's just go ahead and just kind of hit them all with all the spots. So
let's do it.
The first thing is we're going to have about $1 trillion in relief for state and local government. So Edin, what would this money go to?
So this was, to me, the biggest shocker of this package. Out of $3 trillion, they want to allocate $1 trillion, so a third of this package, to state and local governments. What this generally would go to is to essentially beef up the finances of your state government and your local governments, because they have lost a ton of revenue as we've been shut down, and restaurant tax, meals tax is a big one, and sales tax is another big one that they have lost through this whole deal with more places being shut down. So I think that's a big part of it. The second piece is we've seen that unemployment offices have been extremely overwhelmed. And the reason is their technology is so antiquated. So I think a big part of this money also will ultimately go towards fixing some of the technological issues that governments have.
Okay, so helping out both from lost revenue, but then also upgrading the systems to help out the constituents of that, local area or state as a whole.
Correct.
So next big thing that we're talking about is a second round of $1,200 per person payments, potentially $6K for a household. And we've been seeing other things where it's, a $5,000 advance on your Social Security back to $2,000 a month for everybody that makes under 130. So this is the second round of the same 1,200 that we got before, up to $6,000 per household. So, Edin, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, so the biggest change, the way I've understood this one is, one, the first round had a cap in terms of income. So if you made above a certain amount, you were phased out and you didn't get the 1,200. With this proposal, the way I've understood it so far is that everybody gets the 1,200 regardless of income. And then for dependents, in the first round, there was this whole saga about your kids and whether they're 16, 17, or what about your 21-year-old who goes to college. And most people didn't get it for certain age ranges. And then the second piece was in round 1, your dependents were capped at $500. With round 2 right here, it would be $1,200 for all your dependents, up to 3 dependents. So max 5 people in a household times 1,200, talking about $6,000 in additional stimulus.
All right, so half of us or half of people are still fighting for round 1, and they're talking about potential round 2 of this. I'd imagine that having everybody's direct deposits and direct payment information will probably make this thing go a little bit smoother, but we'll see. So next piece is going to be $200 billion, about $200 billion for hazard pay for essential workers that are facing heightened health risks during the everything that's going on. It doesn't say anything about necessarily who specifically this considers, at least from what I've seen, is it doesn't say necessarily who, but Edin may have a little bit more information on that.
No, same kind of deal, and I think they just put it out, and nobody's really had that much time to read through the fine details. You know,
1,800 pages, yeah.
Yeah, it's and $200 billion is a lot of money. At the same time, it's not. Right. So trying to figure out who does it apply to. We talked about it in one of our videos about how do hospitals and medical facilities determine who is at heightened risk, who's a hazardous, who's a worker that's exposed to hazardous conditions. And so I think part of this is going to be hashing out those details to make sure that the right people ultimately get some of this additional compensation.
Yep. The next piece of this is $75 billion going towards testing and then contact tracing, which is huge because the contact tracing piece of this is something that they have been really pushing from the get-go because this is one of the fastest ways to figure out the source of what's going on and then try to squash it there, or at least figure out who else may have run into some issues of the word that we can't say during all of this. So $75 billion, yeah. It seems like it's not much compared to the upside of this potentially working out.
Yeah, again, another little thing that's surprising here, to only allocate $75 billion to testing and contact tracing. You would think that those are the biggest bang for your buck kind of places where you can stop this and to be able to move on, yet we're allocating what seems like the least amount towards it. And it seems like our Congress people are looking for private enterprises to fill that gap on that side and kind of commercialize this aspect of this.
Moving on. Yeah. We're just going to move past that one. So moving on, we got another $600, an extension on the $600 per week of the federal unemployment. So right now, that is set to end at the end of July 31st. That will be done with the $600 per week for federal unemployment, but they're trying to push this through next January.
Correct, and this has been again another one of those state governments and what are their finances looking like. Now the feds have stepped in and paying $600 a week. This is going to be a very contentious piece of this legislation because we're hearing from small businesses that employees are earning more on unemployment. They have zero desire to come back when they're making at least $2,400 sitting at home versus going to work somewhere for, average retail wages are $10, $12. So I think this one, depending on how things shake out over the next 4 to 6 weeks, this one's going to be a hot topic to keep on top of and figure out what's going to happen with it.
Yeah. This one's definitely, especially from both of us being small businesses, like this one is, I understand what's going on, but also I understand the other side from a small business owner that, you're getting all this assistance, you're getting this PPP, and if you then don't have workers that will come back to work, well then this forgivable loan is no longer forgivable. It's just a loan. It's still a good loan. It's 1%, but still it's not forgiven as if it were to be if you actually have people on payroll. So this is definitely one of those bones of contention on both sides. Next thing that we also have in this package is going to be $175 billion in rent, mortgage, and utility assistance. Now we've had other programs that have come out. We have forbearance going on, which effectively just says you don't have to pay your rent or you don't pay your mortgage for the next few months. That's one of them. And we also have ones where you have a whole year of it. So a lot of stuff going on with the rental and mortgage side of things. So Edin, what are you seeing on the real estate side as far as the likelihood of this having a big effect?
Again, with this one, it's just a question of where are they going to funnel this money and who does it end up going to. It's again, it's great in theory. The implementation piece is going to be critical for it to be worthwhile. And at 175 billion, it just doesn't seem like that much money. So I don't know. It seems like about 3 months worth of rent for most households. I might be a little bit off with the math, but it just doesn't seem like it's enough. And again, are they going to try to figure out direct payments to landlords? Are they going to give it to citizens who then are expected to give it to landlords? How does that all work? It's a lot of unclarity. I like the idea behind it because, again, that is the biggest expense that each household has, and so we got to address that head on.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and run down some of the remaining topics that they're trying to bring forward. So we've also got subsidies and certain or special Affordable Care Act enrollment periods to people that have lost their health coverage because they are no longer working for the employer they were with.
Yeah.
We also have more money for a supplemental nutrition assistance program. We have another measures designed to buoy small businesses and help them keep employees on payroll with this, which is kind of part of that emergency disaster relief grants that came out before, but it sounds like we're trying to push more on that. It's also 2020. It's an election year. So what happens with that, where they're actually trying to put money towards election safety during all of this, and then relief for the U.S. Postal Service. So a lot of different things in this $3 trillion package. So, Edin, with all that being said, and because a lot of this stuff is, some of it seems like it's like both sides are happy with it, and others, like the $600 per week in federal unemployment, that is going to be a hot topic. So, again, are they just setting a high anchor to try to then negotiate with, or does this have any likelihood, just from an economic standpoint and everything, to pass?
Yeah, I think from an economic perspective, it definitely has potential to pass in some regards. I don't think this whole package right here is going to get accepted the way it is. We've already had some people from the other side come forward and say that this is wishful thinking. I think they're going to find a middle ground. Again, the key in all of this is, as we're having soft reopenings, what does that look like in terms of the numbers that we're getting? And if we're sort of level or declining, then I don't think something like this has a chance of passing. On the flip side, if you're having a spike in issues again, then this becomes a bigger reality, and then they're going to come back to the table and say, okay, well, what has the biggest impact, and what can we live with given who our constituents are and the fact that it's an election year, so that we can save face and help people out.
All right, everyone. So there you have it. A lot of stuff in this massive, massive package. They came out the other day and said, actually, we're not going to pass anything until end of May, early June, when Congress is back in session. But now they're even trying to talk about potentially doing, I guess, remote or virtual sessions. So, they could all get expedited a little bit more. So, stay up to date with all this stuff. This is a huge relief bill that we'll see what happens with it. It seems like it's massive, so it's not going to go through most likely exactly how it is. Huge implications for businesses, people, the economy of the United States, everything. So, as always, thank you very much. We keep coming back with everything that is up to date. Try to put it all in layman's terms. Talk about what's realistic and what's not. That way, we're all just as informed and in this together. So, everybody, thank you very much. If you haven't already, make sure you stay subscribed so you don't miss out on any new information. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Cool. Sorry, I just started to run long, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, what the fuck?